بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Right, so what if the fast is too long and difficult for me to bear? What a question. What a question, huh? So if it's a obviously very subjective. I mean, is 5 hours too long? Is no. It's a subjective question, but to be fair, there's some shared or some intersubjectivity. Allah, 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 Allah. These terms, right? So the thing is, now, so what can possibly be done? And it's very relevant to the UK because the fasts here can reach, on average, I think 21 hours, some places even probably a bit more, or at least 20 hours in certain places. So it's an incredibly long amount of time to be fasting. So what can you do? Well, one, you can just not fast. Don't worry about it, man. Just chill, man. I think, no, on a serious note, I'm actually being serious. All right? If a person felt that, let's say they tried it and they just couldn't cope. If they felt, I can't do this, oh my God, health is deteriorating, I can't handle this, then they do have that option to not fast and to make up for it later on. When I say not fast, I don't mean they don't have to make up for it. They obviously have to make up for it. But that's if they felt that they cannot do that. That option is there. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. That Allah will not take you to account for which you are not capable of. And you are faqihun nafs. You are the person, as Imam Shatibi says, who makes that call. Okay. And like you make that sicky call in the morning. I'm sick. Tilt your head backwards just to sound a bit more ill. I'm not feeling well. So, thing is, this is your call. So if you say, look, it's making you sick, you can't do it, it's your call. If you can do it, you will be rewarded immensely. That's what people will generally say. And to be fair, I suppose fasting, as you kind of get along with it, it gets easier as you get along, as you kind of go along with it. I think the more difficult things are probably stuff like thirst or things like caffeine withdrawal, actually, and stuff like this is what gets people. Okay, there is a second opinion here. One which doesn't personally settle or lie too well with me, but it's an opinion nonetheless, and it traced back in our recent times to Sheikh Muhammad Abdu, and later of Al-Azhar, and later and Sheikh Rashid Rida and other, Shuyukh of Al-Azhar, and it continues today to be the official position for such circumstances of the Dar al-Ifta al-Misriya and many of the Mashayikh of Al-Azhar today. They say that in any place which has a day longer than 18 hours, and the question here, well, how did they get 18 hours? Well, my understanding how they did that is, well, they took day and night and put it in half, and that gives you 12 hours each, and they thought, well, let's say one of the halves was to be compromised. What would be considered clear compromise? And anything beyond the halfway point of that half would be a clear compromise. This was me trying to understand their logic. I don't know if they did actually do this, work it out like the way I'm saying, but that's what I believe they did. They saw that they took the half, which is, let's say, night. So according to them, a perfect day with a right equilibrium should be 12 hours, 12 hours. 12 hours night, 12 hours day. So if you took the 12 hours night and were to compromise it what would be a clear compromise? And in my understanding, it would have been more than half of it. So half of it would be 6 hours. You add that to the daylight, so that's 18. So this is what I think why they came up with the term 18 hours. So they said anything with 18 hours or more of daylight, what those people can do is they can take the timing of the people of Mecca. Why they chose Mecca is because they said, well, that's Mecca, Medina was where the Prophet ﷺ was. So we know, and it's close to the equator, and it has like an equilibrium, like the time doesn't change so radically. So they say, well, you can take the tawqeet of Ahl Makkah and you can fast in accordance with their times and open the fast in accordance with their times, even though you live, let's say, in the UK, but you will be opening your fast, let's say, as opposed to, let's say, everybody else opens it at 9:30 or 9:45 or 10 p.m. You're opening it at about 6 p.m. because Ahl Makkah, in Makkah, it's sunset around 6. See, the problem with this is it contradicts your perception, because you can see it to be daylight and you are going against your actual perception. And I feel in a way you're kind of violating the taboo nature, which kind of, it also can serve as a safeguarding mechanism for you to keep the fast, because people don't want to eat during the daylight hours, and that's like a taboo. So this in a way kind of breaks that down too. And I mean, I don't know, it just doesn't settle too well with me, that understanding of it is a fatwa nonetheless of many of the Azhariyeen and Dar al-Ifta al-Misriya, but I don't personally find it too comforting. There is a third position which settles a lot better with me, and that is that in these countries with excessive daylight hours, what a person can do is they can branch more into their sahur time. You see, because in countries like the UK, we, in addition to excessive hours, have another issue, which is what people refer to sometimes as the twilight issue. And that is that we can't accurately determine when Fajr begins. And it's being estimated, so nobody can actually tell, because the whiteness that's supposed to appear for dawn, which is supposed to tell us that Fajr begins, never disappears after Maghrib. So that whiteness just stays throughout the entire night, which then means that, okay, at what point did Fajr kick in? And we can't actually tell that. So what we do is we estimate it, either in accordance with the calculations that were going before. So we say, well, hey, before this twilight period kicked in, every day, let's say it was Fajr at, I don't know, 3:30, and it was going forward by 2 minutes or backwards by 2 minutes, we're going to continue with that calculation. Or some people say, well, we will go by the nearest country. Or some people say we will take night and day and split them in half. We will take night till sunrise, so Maghrib till sunrise, sunset till sunrise, and we'll just split it down the middle, give the first half to Maghrib and Isha and the second half to Fajr. And that's why you get people in the UK closing their fast at something like 1:30 a.m, which is very abnormal for Fajr, to have like the time from when Fajr kicks in till sunrise is never above usually 2 hours. Like it's out of the ordinary to say, well, Fajr has begun, but sunrise will be in 4 hours time, or in 3.5 hours time. It doesn't really happen like that. But anyway, so what we have now, with that in mind, we have some narrations from some of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, people like Hudhayfah ibn al-Yaman radiallahu anh, and some other Sahaba as well, and also some of the Tabi'een like Al-A'mash and Ibn Ayyash and a few other people as well, that they would eat into sahur time. Like what I mean by sahur time, as in dawn time. Sorry, sahur is considered when you're eating. before Fajr. So people would think, well, sahur, what does that mean? But they would eat into Fajr time. Like they would see that it was permissible to do that. That the fast starts as long as you have closed the fast before sunrise and with enough time to pray Fajr. Now that is unquestionably a fringe opinion. It is an extremely minority opinion. It did exist in the time of the Sahaba, because we have narrations where Hudhayfa, they say he would come out and it was dawn, and وَيَجْلِسْ وَيَتَسَحَّرْ, and he would eat his sahur. And there's other narrations where he would say that we would eat, it says تَسَحَّرْنَا مَعَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم, we did sahur with the Prophet, وَهُوَ النَّهَارِ, and it was daylight. He says غَيْرَ أَنَّ الشَّمْسَ لَمْ تَطْلَعْ, except the sun hadn't risen yet. And he says, and then we got up and prayed Fajr. And so we find that these narrations are there. And in another narration, he says that, Hudhayfa says that we would eat after Fajr, as in Fajr time. And then he would get up and read Fajr. And people, some of the Sahaba would look at him like, and some of the Tabi'een, like, what are you doing? And he would say that those people who went, not the Sahaba, the Tabi'een would ask him, and he said that those who went before you, meaning the Sahaba, never used to consider by the word Fajr in the Quran the Fajr that you're referring, meaning that we're talking about fasting, of course, not praying Fajr, but he said that they would mean by Fajr you stop eating when the light would fill the streets and your homes, not the Fajr just in the horizon. Now that is a fringe opinion, but considering the fact that the fasts during the Prophet's time and in that place, the Arabian Peninsula, which is close to the equator, have a really balanced equilibrium where night and day are almost equal. In a place like that, where you don't need to even go into Fajr time, because the day is relatively short. I mean, it's not short, but it's not long either. So, in an environment like that, for these Sahaba and these Tabi'een to do things like that, and chains that reach us with Sahih, there are many chains that have been criticized, but there are some that have been accepted as Sahih with these transmissions. So I think, okay, if you have that fringe opinion, but then you add to it the context of the days are not just equal, they're massively unequal. The inequality is so stark that you have 21 hours daylight and 3 hours. Do you see what I mean? I mean, it's so massive that, whoa, or 20 hours and 4 hours. And then on top of that, so you have the excessive daylight. 2, you can't even tell when Fajr comes in. Nobody can tell. Everybody's estimating. So we don't even have as opposed to when these Sahaba or these Salaf, they could tell when Fajr was coming in. So we can't even tell. So second, part of the equation. You can't even tell when Fajr is kicking in. Thirdly, the maslahah for people struggling and adding 2 hours to their time, or 1.5 hours, or 1 hour even, gives people enough energy, enough time to actually make things, to eliminate that strong level of inconvenience. So I think putting all these things together, so the fact that there is excessive daylight, there is lengthy daylight hours, that there is an undeterminable Fajr time, that we cannot tell when it's Fajr. And thirdly, that there's a strong inconvenience. You put all these together and then you look at the welfare to remove this inconvenience, and you have also a precedent with a Sahih chain from the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and some of the Tabi'een, although it's a minority fringe precedent, but you have a precedent. I think with these combinations, these elements of the equation that come together, it gives you an understanding, okay, why not take that position based on the welfare, that you can delay your sahur as long as it's before sunrise with enough time to pray your Fajr and close the fast. And I would personally, I mean, that's an understanding that some ulama have taken. It is a minority understanding, but I believe to deal with our situation today, I would say it is permissible if somebody practiced that. I'm not saying they have to, it is a minority position, but I feel that if it makes life practical for certain people, then the deen is one of ease, ad-deenu yusr. And as the hadith in Bukhari, that the Prophet ﷺ was never faced with two choices, illa ikhtara aysarahuma, except he chose the one with most ease. Okay, people, with that I hope it's of some help, inshallah. Wa barakallahu feekum.